There are quite a few one-man helicopters in G.I. Joe on both sides. Some are heavily armed attack craft. Some are excuses for play features and are purely recon vehicles. All of them feature open cockpits that leave their pilot exposed to the elements, not to mention the rotor blades beating just above their heads. All but one, the most handsome one of all, the G.I. Joe Locust. And besides looking so darn sexy, it still packs quite a punch. 2 dual armor shattering cannons, and you better believe it, folks. I mean, look at those bad boys. If they're not shooting rounds the size of tennis balls, then they're clearly some kind of plasma laser thingamajig. 2 heat-seeking, low-noise air-to-air missiles, though I prefer to see them as replacement ammo for the bomb bay. 2 bombs, a mounting point on the skids for 2 additional Daredevil Joes, which until recently I felt was pretty bizarre, till I saw it in the real-world application on an AH-64 Apache gunship. The bombs and missiles are the same mold, which is a little lazy, gotta say it. As I mentioned earlier, the missiles are a non-factor for this Joe fan, because they do present a danger to the Locust and anybody riding shotgun. If you want to use them as missiles, I guess your Joes should be wearing their SPF 10,000, and they should be fired as the Locust is pulling away. The not so cool missiles are redeemed by my favorite feature, the bomb bay. A small elegant hatch disguises 2 badass little bombs which can be used to wreak havoc on Cobra forces. The detail on the Locust's engines are a really great addition. Well molded and for the most part believable. It's a quality of detail I feel a lot of the best Joe vehicles in the line share. The Locust is a great name for this little guy. For starters, I've always felt its aesthetic resembles a Locust head, and its function suits its moniker, jumping in and out of firefights, leaving behind nothing but total devastation. The Locust has one spacious cockpit, far roomier than that of the Mumbas for sure. It'll happily accommodate most of your modern era figures, thanks to the handy clip system, as opposed to a backpeg. And once you yank off his unsightly backpack, this whirlybird is a perfect chariot for talking battle commander's hawk. Move out! There isn't much in the way of instrumentation, and while the Joe Tomahawk designers saw fit to include yaw rudders, there's no such luck on this bad boy. But the dorsal glass is so pretty, and it ensures unparalleled downward visibility. In fact, the only points that can be deducted for visibility is that damn G.I. Joe logo right across the canopy. Piss poor choice that. But it's pretty much the only uninterrupted smooth area for such a sticker, and you know how much Joe loves to advertise. At least Cobra knows who's blitzing him. If there is one thing I could add to the Locust, it would have to be a winch. The Locust could then be used to carry supplies to the battlefield, or get the wounded to safety. I imagine it did have this capability back in the day. Hasbro wasn't oblivious to this play pattern, they just shifted it to the Locust's big brother, the Retaliator. And when comparing it to its ancestor, the 1983 Cobra Fang, it's clear that pilot survivability was more of a Joe concern. What a difference a closed cockpit makes. In fact, there's only one thing the old Fang can lord over the Locust with. The Fang's rotors spin spectacularly. The Locust, not so much. As a child, I didn't have the Tomahawk, or any other G.I. Joe aerial vehicles for that matter. The Locust was my go-to helo. It went on supply hops, reconnaissance, rescue missions, bombing runs, and covert insertions. I was playing a lot of Jungle Strike, Desert Strike, and Urban Strike, so I used my Locust to pretty much recreate those video game scenarios. This versatile one-man chopper quickly became the star of my playtime. Yes, you did. In terms of media exposure, the Deke series loved using the Locust in swarms. The comic made more sparse use of the Locust, however, but it had a very exciting and short-lived assault on Darklon and his Razorback column in the pages of G.I. Joe issue number 105. I love the Locust. It definitely occupies a solid place in my top 5 small vehicles list, and it's a smart design for its purpose. So compact, it has no tail to speak of. Easy to field, Easy to conceal, you could toss it onto the back of a flatbed Humvee. It can get in and out of tough spots and has the firepower to leave Cobra forces a little holier than they were before. Fend off aircraft and bomb structures into oblivion. It has excellent visibility and kinda cute too, if you don't mind my saying. If you've overlooked this vehicle in the past because of its 90s vintage, give it another glance. In an era of spring-loaded missiles and gaudy colors, the Locust is smart, functional, and tastefully designed.